The K2 strikes again. Um, if you're watching this, you have a K2, you're thinking about buying a K2, or the algorithm just put you on here. Either way, back there, as you can see, I have two K2s. One is missing the CFS, and I shipped it back out to Creality because it was really, really loud. And like you can kind of hear like gears or something inside. You kind of hear like some crackling every time it will retract. Um, At first, I thought that was normal because when you only have one CFS, there's no way to compare the sound and how it should sound, right? Like they tell you it's supposed to be like not that loud, but so there's nothing to compare with. But when I received my second K2, maybe like 2 weeks later, you can tell that one CFS is very, very quiet. It works, and then the other one is very loud and it kind of sounds like it's fighting with itself on the inside. It's like something. Um, and then not only that, in the process of contacting Creality, for the CFS, the port on the fourth stopped working, and again, I had already talked to Creality about shipping it back. So then I was like, hey, this stopped working too. It's great, everything's covered under warranty, but again, that also affects me because I can't use it. The entire time that's going on, I can't use it because once the fourth feeder stopped working, it wouldn't let me use none of the other three. So something in the software basically told the printer that it's stuck in a function where it's trying to retract, but it won't, like, because it's stuck in that function, and that's why you're getting a red light that it won't work. You can put nothing in there or anything like that, and you can't even put something in there so then you can use the other three. So basically, it was out of commission 100%. So good thing Creality sent me a return, so I shipped the CFS back out to them. I will be hearing from them within the next few days, maybe a week, and then they said I should be getting a replacement unit in like 10 to 15 days. So good on them. That's good. But at the same time, there's a lot of issues that, for example, with the Creality slicer, a lot of people have been having a lot of issues. It's very laggy. It freezes. Whether you're using Windows like I am or whether you're using Mac, I've heard that it's actually worse over there. But first impressions was I am stoked about this printer. It's great. It works as advertised. You can connect, the two CFSs and you can do 8 colors. Happy with that. Happy to be able to do those things. And then the bed size is the biggest thing why I even bought them. Having bigger bed volume to print multiple parts um, is such a like some people don't understand because having that much of a build volume helps out a lot when you're able to just do batches. So when you can do a batch of something and it helps you out instead of like being there for like 6 hours. Sure, it takes a little longer, but because you're doing a batch print for multicolor, of course, that referencing multicolor, it's a really good idea. Um, but there's a lot of issues. One of the issues that I ran into was color bleeding. You see the black. So color bleeding is one of the first issues that I ran into. Um, so because I've already done multicolor printing, I know that you have to change the flushing volumes. And knowing that when all the live streams I've seen of Creality, I saw that like this much filament had to be extruded before the new color comes in. So automatically I already knew that you had to kind of mess with the printer and increase it. I increased it more than the recommended and more than it would allow me, and I still had a color bleeding. That's something that I'm gonna have to figure out. I have had some people give me some suggestions on what they're doing, um, but my thing is, why is Creality not shipping a printer with these things in mind? Like when you're developing a printer, don't you have people that are, testing out, from this color that we have, because all the filament was Creality that I was using for that particular print that I just showed. But aren't don't you have a person or a department that's like, hey, we have to kind of test the printer, make sure that we put in the on the slicer to set our profiles, to make sure that our filament, we might not know other companies filament, but that our filament is able to flush 100%, so that the users, when they buy RK2, right, or any of our other ones that right now they're having converter kits for some of the older printers so that they get the multicolor, you have to make sure that the customer receiving your your K2 can extrude without us having to edit it. Now, again, as a user, you do have to make sure that you figure that out. But most people, most people coming into this, whether they're new or old, for 3D printing, they're not gonna come in here and they're not going to, out of the box, they're gonna think that everything works. Like you ship me some colors, I put them in there, it should work. The fact that I had that, and a lot of the people were just saying it's user error. But to be honest with you, as a consumer, right, it's up to Creality to make sure that this gets handled. Um, I don't understand why some people, maybe because like they've never dealt with multicolor printing, maybe because a lot of it for the most part is like they were living in the dark ages of 3D printing where they had to manually level their bed. It was kind of like all up to the user, right? So like Creality or other companies can just ship you a printer or you can build it yourself, and it was up to the user 100% to figure everything out, right? But we're now receiving machines that look like your microwave, right? And eventually we're going to have everybody with a 3D printer in their homes, right? Maybe not everybody, but you know what I mean. So I think we're going to see more people buying them. Something that looks like an appliance and that functions like an appliance that helps people print whatever they need. Yeah, we're at that level now. The dark ages are over. So when you buy something, right? You buy a microwave, you expect that when you plug it in, you read some instructions, make sure you're not doing anything wrong, or make sure you don't put nothing in there. But you expect it to work, right? And a lot of people, besides I'm gonna like people that have received their printers, with shipping damages or like faulty parts. Outside of those people, because I understand that those variables are out of our control. Besides those people, everything else on the printer should just work. Now, if it doesn't, all the companies that are watching this video, you guys have to pay attention that from now on, we have a standard. The standard is it should work. Even if like we have to tinker with it, even if we have to learn a little here, like there's a lot of knowledge to be learned at the beginning of anybody's getting into 3D printing. But at the same time, just because some of us have to, learn a few things here and there, the printer should just work. Especially if you're getting into multicolor printing, I think this is like the next step. So like if you're still doing single color prints and then that's all you do and you're happy with it, or if you're just like a hobbyist or like a tinker, this video is not for you. If you like it, if you enjoy those things, if you love those things, this video is not for you. This video is for everybody else and for all the companies that want to reach the broader public, right? Companies like Creality wants to reach more people who are using other printers from other brands. They're trying to reach those people. So this video is for them and everybody else, every other company, and everybody trying to get into multicolor printing. I don't like painting the way that, that most people do for like sanding down and priming and everything. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. I personally don't want to spend that much time because when I'm trying to sell something, it's not in my best interest to spend a lot of time because all of that extra time that I spend doing something has to go into the print, has to go into the value of the print, and then the consumer who buys it from me has to pay for that time, right? So I enjoy multicolor printing because it comes out in color, kind of like over here. You see that? It comes out in color, perfect, ready for shipping, right? Take the supports off, put it in a nice box, package it, and then send it out to a customer. But we have a few issues. I was printing this, and Creality and other companies say that the printer can resume after a power outage. The power outage is one of those things where it's out of their control, it's out of our control, and it's good that it tries to resume. When I tried to resume that, I was still next to the printer when I heard it turn off, so it was only off for like maybe 2 minutes, and then the top, maybe you can't see it, but the top it kind of stopped and then resumed, and it left a scar. The problem I have with that is that where the extruder stopped extruding was in the infill. So some people tried to tell me in the comments, try to tell me that Oh, well, the temperature changes and then it cools off. Okay, cool. But at the same time, I wasn't running it with any heat on it, right? So it's PLA. So with PLA, I wasn't running no heat. Um, and at the same time, it's one of those things that it's just bringing awareness to Creality that if you're gonna have a feature, try to make it work. And every other company should try to make it work. But when it fails, it's just bringing attention to it. And I think, kind of like as consumers, when people tell you, well, just buy a power supply unit if the power goes out or, goes in and out, you know, that's a smart thing to do. But at the same time, it's a lot of money. A K2 uses a lot of wattage. How much you think one of those power supply units will cost to keep that machine running, right? So it's an investment. And a lot of people might not have that investment. And a lot of people shouldn't have to think about those investments. So whenever people try to deflect from trying to give the Creality or any other company that, maybe you have a different brand and that happens to you, but trying to give Creality a word of, hey, this is an issue, so that they can fix it, whether it's hardware, right? Whether it's software, like that's kind of what they're here for. They're here to create, they're here to innovate, right? And if a company is not creating and innovating, and then if we're not calling out the defects, if we're not calling out what's going wrong, then how are they going to innovate? So it's kind of like up to our best interest as consumers to always let these companies know when there's issues, And again, it affects for my thing, it affected me a little bit. But again, I'll just put another one in there. It's not that big a deal. But when people try to say like it's user error, well, no. It is user error, but guess what? Creality and other companies should be doing whatever they can to try to improve on their products, because right now, this is the Bamboo clones, right? Everybody's just trying to become the next Bamboo or trying to like compete with Bamboo, right? Instead of trying to like innovate beyond that. And a lot of people that have been commenting on like the scarring issue that happened with this model back here. A lot of people are just stuck in their like old ways. Thank God I wasn't here for that, and thanks to everybody who got us this far. But guess what? If these machines are more of an appliance, right? We're trying to get one on everybody's home. Everybody should have one, right? If you want to build a print farm, if you want to do whatever else you want with them, if you want to tinker with them, if you want to create something that hasn't been created, that's all great. But at the same times, when we buy a machine and then the companies tell us that it can do something, it should be able to do it. So between the color bleeding that should work out of the box, and then between the scarring of the resume feature, it's one of those things where I don't understand how the scar happening on this model, because it was in the infill, and even when it resumed, it was doing a bunch of infill. So I said, oh, okay, cool, maybe the infill is gonna get messed up, but then the interior and exterior, once it goes to the next round, it's not gonna be messed up. But it left a really big, deep scar. I kind of sanded it down a little bit so you can't really see it too much. But at the same time, this is one of those things where, there's some improvement on my end. But if we don't tell Creality that this is happening, then they're not even going to bother, making a software update or, including that or, something and innovating, right? So I just hope that everybody understands that. What should I do? I recommend buying a K2 for those wondering or who are watching this to maybe get an idea. A lot of people say buy a Bamboo if you want it to work out of the box with little to no issues and a few things that you learn. Again, you're learning as you go. With the Creality, this is my first Creality printer, and I bought two because I love them, and hopefully in the future I'll buy more, hopefully. But at the same time, do I recommend buying a Creality printer? The answer is, if you don't mind the learning curve, if you don't mind the tinkering, if you don't mind all the small details and kind of like reaching out to other, Creality users to try to get like issues solved for you. If you're trying to get a K2 to start a little business or something, I would say maybe wait it out another 6 months before you buy one for those purposes. Or again, if you want to just jump in and figure it out on your own, great. But as it stands right now, unless if you have the knowledge of, from other brands or something, if you're just buying this as a secondary or third printer, other than that, maybe wait out for another 6 months for Creality to like, work out the kinks, maybe some part revisions or something that, like I said, a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people post about the CFS being loud or not working, right? So like something might be wrong for some people's units, maybe some recall, maybe some parts need to be swapped out, some upgrades. The extruders on the K2, because of the plastic, I've seen some posts where like some people's have kind of deformed, or they've had issues. So there's gonna be a lot of small issues. So if you want to just wait it out for the next 6 months, maybe 8 months, start to see when people are posting, making a lot of good posts. But again, making posts about an issue that you run into is a good thing, because we're raising visibility so that Creality pays attention. If one person says, hey, this is happening to me, and nobody else says anything, even though they might be having the same issue, it's not helping nobody. If you have an issue, post it, bring up the issue, share the things that have happened to you. So then again, it's kind of one of those things where the more we share with Creality, the more we share with these companies, the more they'll have to, think about like, hey, this is something we have to fix in this printer. This is something we have to, fix in our entire lineup. This is something that can benefit. And then for the next generation, it gives them something to work on, right? What problems do we have today that we can fix for tomorrow? Like I said, yeah, this is the K2 problem. I love my K2s. I love them. Like, to be honest with you, I've been using them nonstop. You know, right now I'm gonna get ready to make another print. If you are somebody who is a seasoned 3D printer, if you already have 3D printers, you've already been through the learning curve, get yourself a K2. You're gonna love it. And yep, that's it for today, boys. Appreciate it. Thanks.